So the Shirley Strawberry case just took a wild turn because Steve Harvey just got exposed for trying to help her husband Ernesto escape justice.
The prosecutor overheard Shirley telling him you could go to Steve's place in Dubai.
Well, Steve has come under a lot of fire from fans who believe that he is enabling Ernesto's behavior and trying to help him get away with some horrific crimes. This case just keeps getting messier and messier, and Steve is not going to get off easy. Now, I know we all thought that we might have heard the last of Shirley Strawberry's drama, but it turns out that there is still a crazy amount of stuff going on. Some new details have recently popped up, and y'all are not going to believe the tea that I got for you, because Steve Harvey just got himself wrapped up in the case. Steve Harvey's fans were disappointed to find out that he got mixed up in the drama, but honestly, it shouldn't be so surprising because Steve has been friend of both Ernesto and Shirley for years. Several sources claim that he was the one who introduced the two and encouraged them to pursue a relationship together. I mean, he even helped Ernesto propose to Shirley on the air.
The woman that you about to ask me this question about, do you love her?
Yes, sir.
Okay then, Shirley.
Yes.
This your man right here. What?
It's Ernesto.
Wait a minute.
So yeah, he probably felt an obligation to help out, even though he should have just sat himself to the side from the drama. Now, for those of you who haven't been following the story, Shirley Strawberry's husband Ernesto Williams recently got exposed in a major way. It's been kind of embarrassing for Shirley. Then a lot of people don't feel sorry for her because they believe that she had to have known the type of man that Ernesto was before she decided to marry him. He had a very long list of arrests and charges and felonies that go back to more than 20 years, so he was never really on the good side of the law. However, to be fair to Shirley, Ernesto did act like he was getting himself cleaned up while they were together. He opened up a barbershop and a couple of other businesses that were actually successful, but then it turned out that he was still heavily involved in a couple of shady businesses, and things started to fall apart for him a couple of months ago. So we found out that Ernesto and his business partner Erica King had been running a scamming scheme and had made about $1 million from the scheme. The crazy thing about all this is that they would have gotten away with their crimes if they hadn't also committed rental fraud and given the police a reason to look into them. So Erica and Ernesto had rented a house together, but they failed to pay rent for about 4 months, which caused the landlord to report them to the authorities for possible rental fraud. And if you're wondering why on earth Ernesto and Erica would need to rent a house together, well, it's because they were allegedly having an affair and sneaking around behind Shirley's back. So not only is he a scammer allegedly, but he is also a cheat allegedly. Like, pick a struggle. But anywho, the police started looking into his finances after the rental fraud drama, and this is how they discovered his extensive scamming activities. According to police sources, 57-year-old Ernest Williams and 46-year-old Erica King convinced people to pay them for their business expertise. They would align themselves with their victims with promises to be able to grow their brands, their missions, their life goals, their social media followings.
Police say their investigation first started at this home on Pine Grove Road months ago. Investigators say after Williams and King hadn't paid rent for a while, detectives started looking into their financial transactions, and it led them to their extensive scheme.
But that's not the only way that our man Ernesto was scamming, because he still had other illegal activities outside of this. He would visit business establishments, get a service, and then write a bad check, thereby scamming them out of their money. But who is taking checks anymore? But according to court documents, 18th day of November 2021 did by deception and with intent to avoid payment, knowingly obtain car repair services of a value of more than $1,500 but less than $5,000, which were available only for compensation from Palmer Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, and for which the accused failed to pay. He was booked on 5 counts of conspiracy to commit a felony, but he was able to get the charges reduced to just 3. He was also booked on 3 additional charges of theft by taking operation of credit repair services and theft by deception. But it gets even worse because the more the police looked into into him, the more dirt they found on him. And let me tell y'all, he covered in this dirty mud. He was caught with some very improper images and videos relating to children, if you know what I mean. He was also accused of essaying nothing less than 11 minors. And as if that's not bad enough, his victims included Shirley's own daughter and Shirley's granddaughter as well. He was also ordered to stay away from animals, and it was starting to feel like he got even worse with everything new we found out about him. But the craziest part about all this is that Shirley decided to stick beside Ernesto. Not just that, but she begged the courts to release him to go home with her. She said, "It is my intention that the court know that I wish for him to be released with no conditions as regards to me, that I wish for him to be able to reside with me or wherever he elects to reside, and that his release be effectuated immediately." She got a lot of backlash for that, and like I said, we thought that his crimes couldn't have possibly gotten any worse, but the police said, "Hold my beer," and they got to work. I mean, really digging into him, and listen, it's a hot mess. Ernesto got slammed with 5 new charges, and at this point, it's becoming clear that he is going to be doing a lot of time behind bars. But before we get into these new charges, we need to talk about the fact that Ernesto recently got sentenced to 24 months in prison for unlawful possession of a pew pew pew, if you know what I mean. According to court documents, on or about May 5th, 2022, Ernest Williams Jr. knowingly possessed at least one machine gun, that is, at least one machine gun conversion device for a Glock handgun. He pled guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 24 months to be served concurrently with his up-and-coming sentences. Now, regarding those 5 charges that I spoke about, they are all related to SA, and they include aggravated S battery, SA aggravated sodomy, S battery misdemeanor, and trafficking a person for intimate servitude. Oh my gosh! Listen, we thought that this scamming activities were bad enough. We didn't know what he was doing out here. Now this is where Uncle Steve comes in, because according to prosecutors on the case, he might be involved in a secret plot to help Ernesto escape the country and flee to Dubai. Y'all know how she begged the courts to let Ernesto go home with her? Well, it looks like she is slowly coming to the realization that the courts are never going to grant her request, and she's now looking for other options. According to one of the prosecution lawyers on the case, he heard Shirley begging Ernesto to let her help him escape to Dubai, and he can stay in Steve Harvey's house there.
The prosecutor overheard Shirley telling him, "You could go to Steve's place in Dubai, where his son Winton lives in lay low."
And I'm almost sure that she just didn't invite her husband to go over there without Steve's permission.
At this point, I think we can all agree that it's kind of surprising that Shirley would go to such lengths to protect Ernesto. But what is very surprising is that Steve would willingly get himself involved in this type of mess. Like several fans have pointed out, it's kind of weird that Steve would be the person to come to her mind to help her. Plus, it's highly unlikely that she would tell Ernesto that he could stay in Steve's house in faraway Dubai without deciding to clear with Steve first. And a lot of people have taken this as a sign that Steve gave his consent for Ernesto to stay there. Now, we all know that Steve has been friends with Shirley and Ernesto for years, but loyalty doesn't apply in this case, and he has come under a lot of fire for enabling Ernesto and trying to help him escape justice. Somebody said, "Steve Harvey out here helping a man who has been ordered to stay away from kids and animals. He offered this man to stay at his home in Dubai and an undisclosed amount of money to avoid prosecution. They need to take the Steve Harvey morning show off the air. Between Steve, Shirley, and her criminal husband, they all shiesty. Not shiesty. And I already can't stand Steve, but I can never listen to a Strawberry letter again. This woman's self-esteem is in the toilet." It's giving that interview Storm had about Steve, and his questionable ways weren't too far off with the company he has been keeping in this sicko called Ernesto. But I need to know what y'all think about Steve possibly giving Ernesto some help. Do you think that he's being a loyal friend, or do you think he has something to cover up and should have sat this one out? Let me know what y'all think, and then check out this next video.